Hello everyone, Josh here with Anime Impact, bringing you guys some more Duel, and today we're going to be bringing back an old favorite of mine, the extra tilt. I'm going to show you guys a few replays that I have for you, showing you various deck builds and against various top tier meta. Now, this deck right off the bat, I will tell you, has a great match against all the current meta except for one, of course, that is Sylvans, because Sylvans keep reusing their monsters thanks to Rose Lover, thanks to Carrot, being able to kind of get around back row traps because of such things as Rose Lover using its effect, of course, to protect it from a trap for that turn. And then you also have Como Shrumo constantly trying to destroy back row. Marsh Leaf really isn't the problem. The beat sticks really aren't the problem. It's just the Rose Lover is the problem. A lot of us have been saying this for a long time. Rose Lover needs to get hit, and it still hasn't, so I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to be showing you guys a few of the replays. I'll show you the current deck build that I'm running right now. I am currently level 20. I got to 20 actually pretty quickly, honestly. Like, in my last stream, we hit 19, and then I hit 20 quickly after. I've went as high as 23, almost had 24 earlier today. Rocking extra, but I don't know if I'll be rocking extra after today's video, because as you guys know, extra is a very slow deck, and all the duels take forever, and I really don't want to sit there and spend all that time. But the deck does work. It's amazing. Now, extra kind of fell out of the meta, I'd say the past couple months, because it was kind of heavily dictated by Sylvans. But now that we have Amazonas, we have Sylvans, we have Noble Knights now in the game. You still got the occasional Archfiends floating around, very rarely though. And we also have, of course, a new Silent Swordsman OTK. And you have Gear Gaia, which is also another one of those decks you rarely see on the ladder right now. But this deck seems to be able to handle most things. As you'll notice, I actually tacked in a Divine Wrath. I was running two, but I noticed I never really needed the second one, especially when you're using extra. But that is a really good card to run if you are playing against Sylvans. That's like really my hard counter right there to Sylvans at the moment. That and then my lone golden apples that I ran. I was running 3 golden apples in some of my other builds, which is really good to play around Sylvans if they do somehow get their big beat sticks out and they can't take out your back row and they try to attack you for game. This allows you to kind of play around that OTK, that, and of course golden ladybugs. And I'm also running warm worms to try and mill them out quick, get rid of some of their cards that they need. Sometimes it can help them though by getting the Rose Lover, so it's kind of a 50-50 on that. But like I said, this deck's biggest weakness, of course, is Sylvans. It can beat it, but it's not at a high win rate. But everything else, this deck does phenomenal. This deck is 100% against Amazonas. This deck basically obliterates Noble Knights for the most part. Like, you would think Noble Knights would be really good against this deck because they can destroy back row, but the thing is they cannot keep up. They cannot keep up with the battle damage, and they cannot keep up with the back row destruction, because I'm going to keep bringing out constant back row over and over again. And if I ever bring out a Massive Morph, boom, I'm going to lock them down. Even if they have a double Cyclone, they're still just not fast enough to keep up with what I'm bringing now, which you guys will see in today's video. But anyways, enough talking. Like I said, we ran several different extra builds. It does good against everything except for Sylvans. I just wanted to show you guys how powerful extra is and how it can just kind of keep coming in and out of the meta depending on how the meta is dictated. So let's go ahead down here to dual replays. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I got 5 for you. Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if I say 4 replays or 5, so I guess you guys are getting a full dose of 5 today. So, yeah, definitely enjoy this. Let's see what we got. I believe the 2 Teas were the Silent Swordsman matchup. We were playing around with OG Karibo. You can run Impenetrable Attack. Now, Impenetrable Attack really isn't good for this deck, but if you guys are running like other decks, like Amazonas, for example, or Noble Knights, Impenetrable Attack is a really good matchup still against other things, not just Silent Swordsman. So it's a good flexible card to throw in your back row. And as you can see here, we got Temple of the Mind's Eye. We ain't playing around. 2 golden ladybugs and a floodgate in our hand. You know what it is. Now, you guys also can play around Silent Swordsman if you have 2 floodgates set or 2 Massive Morph set. That's if, of course, they only have 1 Silent Sword Slash in their hand, because as long as you play it last in the chain, you can get around it. But as you can see here, he can only do 1k damage. He can't, I mean, basically, as soon as you put Temple on the field, they just lose. They have got no answer for it. Of course, they could put answers in it. Like, they could put Cosmic Cyclone in their deck, but why would they, honestly? Because that would ruin their synergy. But as you can see, simple, boom, you you play that, and as you can see, I was running 3 in that deck build. Like I said, I switched around with a lot of different deck builds, mainly because when you play extra, especially as long as I have, the deck works. It's so good. It has a high win rate against many things, but it is so slow that after a while you get bored and you just want to kind of spice it up a little bit just to change it, just to make you feel like you're doing something, because the deck is extremely slow. But if you guys have a lot of patience and you're not in a big hurry, this deck can work wonders for you. All right, now we have Duel Standby again, and look at my starting hand. What's he going to do with that? Nothing. Nothing. He can't do anything. He's going to set a card. And we got the OG Kribo chilling there, which is another counter to the deck. See, he thinks he's going to build, I'm going to let him build up his hand to so much that he's just going to be able to play around everything. He's just going to hit me with 3 silent sword slash. But the problem is, he doesn't realize as long as I have field spells on the field, he can't do anything. Like, at this point, most people that have common knowledge and logic of their deck know right off the bat it's just a lot easier for both me and themselves to just surrender, because there is literally nothing they can do because I have the field spell, and they can't, if they can't get rid of it, they auto lose. So I don't know honestly what they were expecting to do with that, and I just kind of unloaded my whole back row to play around all that good stuff. And as you can see, he's locked down. He just wasted all those silent sword slash for nothing. He couldn't even OTK me anyway. And then he finally got some common sense and decided it was time to surrender, which he should have did right off the bat, because there was nothing he could have done. But I don't know. Some people are crazy. All right, our next match is against Joey Wheeler. All right, here we are. He's running Grit. So usually when they're running Grit, you know what deck they're running. So we got an OG Karibo, we got a Wall of D, Mass Morph, Floodgate, and now we got a Golden Ladybug. And I believe this actually might be our Sylvan matchup that I actually had. Like I said, this deck can beat Sylvans. It's just the win rate is nowhere near as high as it is against every other deck right now currently in the meta. I'd say on average, you could win like maybe 2, 3 if you're lucky out of every 5 matchups against a Sylvan player. If you're lucky. Most times it's probably around 50-50, maybe a little bit under, depending on your opening hand and their opening hand, and kind of how situations present themselves. If you want to play really anti-Sylvan, if you see a lot of Sylvans on a ladder, just run 3 Divine Wrath and 3 Providence, and run 3 Golden Ladybug. You can run 3 of, let's see here, what is it? Maybe 1 or 2 Chaos Hunter as well, to kind of, get around the whole banishing for Rose Lover, so she can never get her effect off from the grave. I mean, you can do things like that. You can play around with the deck a little bit. Run, of course, Worms and stuff like that. I mean, hey, things work. But as you can see in this matchup, we did very, very well. We got our field spell on the field now. Now he's got to get rid of that field spell, or he'll never be able to OTK. Especially with all my back row chilling. He's going to use Guardy Oak. He's going to mill a Marsh Leaf, which does nothing. He's going to use that to destroy that, to clear up a space. Doesn't matter. We're going to start building up life points now. Using Massive Morph, that'll give us 3,800. Always use Massive Morph second in the chain. That way it's last. That way you get the actual boost from Draining Shield. Then, yeah, at this point, it's like, at this point it becomes very hard for them to do anything. Like, if you can get going for a few turns against Sylvans, they're done. Because there's no way they can ever start getting enough output to kill you. Because if they keep doing anything around 2,000 damage, you're just going to keep doubling up every card you draw. And a lot of our deck is traps. So, as you know, we're just going to keep basically, rinse and repeat until they run out of resources or we have too many life points for them to deal with. I mean, that's just kind of how extra works. But, man, the duels are so long sometimes, let me tell you. But, yeah, at this point, he can't do anything. He's down to 3 cards in his deck. He's got to get over 9,700 attack in. He can only do 1,000 per monster. And I have 2 Golden Ladybugs, so I'm basically one of his monsters per turn ain't going to do anything. He gets the Koma Shrumo off there. And you also have the OG Karibo, which is also really nice. So as you can see, since he decided to mill there, which was very risky on his part, he was playing very ballsy here. He was hoping to just get rid of me on his next turn because he's now down to 1 card. But, you know, we got that extra coming in, and look at this. 4 Golden Ladybugs, which I do believe I set 1 to negate basically 1 attack. And I still have a Karibo to stop another. So basically, he can only attack me with 1 monster this turn. But then he hits me with a Tribute to the Doomed, plays around my idea, but it still did not matter. It just was not enough, and we actually went through and won this duel, and he actually went ahead and surrendered. So it was really, really a good duel. That was definitely a showdown right there between Tilt and Tilt, and luckily I was able to out-tilt him when he actually had the advantage on me. Like I said, they have an advantage when they play you because of all the basically the moving parts that they have in the deck. Alright, so we have 2 more to go. We got Yugimoto and Bandit Keith. I believe one of these was a... Bandit Keith might have been the Noble Knight deck. I forget what Yugi was running. Yugi might have been running Restart Amazonas, I think. I could be wrong, but I know the last one I do believe is a Noble Knight deck. So you guys are seeing a little bit of everything here in the current meta. I wanted to save enough replays of different types of meta to kind of show you what this deck can do. Against everything else. Oh, this isn't an Amazon. Dang, I must not have saved Amazonas. I thought I saved quite a few. I might actually oversaved because I know I saved quite a few and I wasn't keeping track. So I actually might have saved those and then it actually overrode them because I saved too many games. Ugh. They need to make the save replays go a little bit beyond 5. Because this deck dominates Amazonas. I mean, completely shuts them down. They have little to anything they can even do, like, right out of the gate. Like, what are they going to do? You lock down their monsters. You lock down Queen, which is their only tribute. Even if they run Witch Raider, I mean, they just cannot keep up with your life points. They can't keep up with your back row. But, yeah, so this deck... It does very well against everything except really Sylvans. Like, that's its biggest weakness. Now, that's not to say that other decks cannot win. They can. I mean, there's always that chance, especially if they open up with the perfect hand or whatever. But, more times than not, you're going to win against everything else right now in the current top meta except for Sylvans. Like, that is really the biggest weakness. But, like I said, if you're not seeing too many Sylvans on the ladder, this deck is the way to go. If you're seeing a lot on the ladder and you still want to run this, like I said, you could tech in Providence, you could tech in Divine Wrath. I prefer Divine Wrath because you don't actually have to have a monster in your hand to get around the Sylvans. So, there's that. And we're going to go ahead and just Floodgate. Floodgate, Massamorph, Floodgate, Massamorph, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So at this point, he's starting to get a little bit nervous because he's seeing my life points get higher. And, he's running out of resources. He's used another mass change, which I've already floodgated. And then he just says, no, fuck this. He's like, fuck you, Anime Impact. Fuck your extra tilt deck. Fuck everything. I'm done. I'm out of here. My poor heroes. Alright, guys. So let's go ahead and watch the very last duel. This one, I do believe, is against Noble Knights. I thought I had an Amazonas in here somewhere. But like I said, I must have overrode it because I've saved too many replays. So, dang it. But yeah, I'm sure you guys can visualize how this deck would do against Amazonas. I'm sure you guys understand. But anyways, this one is against Noble Knights. So like I said, I showed a little bit of what this deck can do against everything. And I used multiple different combinations of extra deck builds. I prefer to run, like if you guys are running extra and you don't want to run sort of the deep-seated to have like, the chance of having that dead card in the beginning, you could run 21 cards or 22 card decks. That way, if your win condition is to deck your opponent out, if they don't want to do an early surrender, then you definitely want to try and run a 21 to 22 card deck, which is actually what I did, I believe, since the beginning. I think I started with 20, then I realized a lot of people were starting with 20, and if we can get into like an actual stall match and they don't want to rage quit and I don't really have anything to do life point damage per se, I realized I needed that one additional card to guarantee the deck out. So that's what I started doing, and it started working perfectly. So definitely go 21, 22 card deck if you are running extra extra without, Card of the Deep-Seated or Marin or anything like that. But as you can see here, like I said, Noble Knights has one big weakness. They don't have very much damage output if you lock down even one of their monsters, because they can only run one of each kind of their equipped spell card at a time. They can't like just put three, or they can't put two or three of the same one on one monster. It can't be done. So if you can lock them down at any point in the duel, just one of their monsters, they are now kind of in desperation and in trouble. And that equip spell can only destroy one face down at a time. And as you know, we set back row constantly, nearly every turn. And because of that, they just cannot keep up. Noble Knights are just not fast enough to deal with this particular deck. Noble Knights are amazing. Don't get it twisted. Noble Knights are awesome. I love Noble Knights. They're so much fun. But for my particular deck builds, my extra tilt, they really can't do much about it. And I believe I actually memed this guy. I think I kept memeing him. I don't think it was this guy. I think this was another guy that I played earlier today. I don't think I saved that replay. But I was like memeing that guy constantly. And at this point, as you know, he can't do anything. And look at my life points. Like, how's he going to, This might have actually been the guy that I memed. I think I said, like, yeah, I did meme him. I kept putting Worms in attack position on the field. Ugh. Savage Impact at it again. And I think I do it again here. I put it down again. I think I also put my Temple of the Mind's Eye as well. Kind of just to let them know, like, hey, you never even had a chance, bro. Savage Impact at it again. But yeah, so I hope you guys like that. Extra, still getting it done in the meta. Extra, tearing it up. You could even probably use one of these variations to climb to King Games right now if you haven't got there yet. I mean, extra is back, baby. Like I said, besides the occasional run-in with Sylvans, unless you're running the counters for Sylvans in your deck, you're going to do pretty well on the ladder. You're going to do pretty well on the qualifiers. You're going to do pretty well. But like I said, it is a very slow deck, so keep in mind it will take patience. And patience could really wear on the mind, making you maybe possibly have misplays. So keep that all in mind. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Join us in the Discord below, and I'll catch you guys all next time. Peace.